Good morning, I'm Joel Green on your hometown station KHTS AM 1220. The subject today on our show Senior Moments is the continuing series of issues in aging, making your own decisions. Today we're talking about advance directives and final arrangements. Our guests, Gina McDonald, elder law and estate planning attorney, and Curtis Woods from Dignity Memorial Park. Good morning, both.
Good morning. Good morning.
We left off with I'm still needing more documents for my advance directives. Gina, what else do I need?
Well, not only that, but please do your family a favor and prepay your burial expenses.
I have to do that too?
Oh, yes, please.
Oh, gosh, this is never ending.
Please do that. And the reason I'm saying that is because, first of all, if you ever need long-term care services and you need to be in a 24-hour nursing home and you need Medi-Cal, one of the things that you are not punished for doing is prepaying your burial expenses.
I can do that?
Yes, you can. And the state of California wants you to do that. So does the federal government. They say, as you want to prepay, some people want a blowout funeral. They want to be buried. They want to buy the plot. I'll leave that to Curtis to explain those things. Also, if you want to be cremated, it's the same thing. You can prepay a prepaid burial contract that has no money going back to anybody at your death. Medi-Cal kisses and blesses and says that you can spend what you want on that.
Tell me about that, Curtis. What does final arrangements mean? Obviously, the first word of that is final. But what kind of arrangements? Can I just say to my friend, I just want to be cremated?
Well,
end of story.
Even before I jump on that, I'm just going to say Gina's so awesome because these are the things that I talk about as a profession in the community on a regular basis. But, coming from your local mortician, that's not an awesome conversation that people would like to have. So coming from someone outside the profession, it brings even more validation to the importance of having the advanced healthcare directive or the power of attorney over the healthcare and all those good things. It helps along the way. But these are, when you talk about advanced arrangements, advanced planning, pre-planning, they're all synonyms. What you're basically doing is taking time and, just like Gina said, making a plan for what you want to happen after you pass. At our place, you have a choice to just strictly make the plan and at least determine if you want to be buried or cremated, because a lot of times families don't know. Make a plan. Do you want to go back to Tennessee where does mom want to go back to Tennessee where she was originally born? Does she want to be buried here in Santa Clarita because this is where her family is now? These are the type of questions that families are left behind trying to guess their best answers to, unless you take time to visit us and make some sort of plan.
Do attorneys become involved with this, or is that pretty much the responsibility of the folks like Curtis?
Attorneys do not get involved in this. Right. What we do is let you know what the federal government is not, that people who are trying to gift away their money before they qualify for Medi-Cal, I let them know. This is not gifting. This is something that the government wants you to do. And by the way, I've already prepaid my burial, and I've done it through Eternal Valley. Awesome. Now, one of the reasons I did that is because they're part of the Dignity group. And that's, one of my children now lives in Oregon. And as we were driving around here, it was a beautiful mortuary with the
cemetery?
Pardon me?
With the cemetery also?
Yes, with the cemetery. And here it was showing it was a Dignity member.
Right.
So that I'm not, wherever I want to go, as long as that my contract is with Dignity, I know that it's going to be honored in more than one state.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. Now, I could go straight to a crematorium that's in North Hollywood and contract with them. But here's my problem. What if I move out of state?
Right.
And so to me, it was worthwhile to do that.
Right, and she's speaking of our national transferability benefit that we offer with every person that pre-arranges with our location. Our Dignity Network has close to 2,000 locations throughout the United States and Canada. And just like she was saying, if you happen to start life here in Santa Clarita, but you want to retire in Florida or Oregon or any other place, most major metropolitan cities have multiple Dignity facilities to locate.
But obviously the pricing will be different.
Pricing will be different, and the other good thing is that on the funeral side, the benefit transfers dollar for dollar. So you put $20 here, $20 goes to wherever you go. On our cemetery side, it's like for like. So if you get the best of the best here at Eternal Valley, no matter where you go, regardless of the price, you'll get the best of the best at the receiving location. So that's one of the great benefits of our service that we provide. Now, jumping back really quick, you had asked if attorneys are involved in my portion of the table, and Gina's right, they're not involved here, but they set up so many awesome things in our place to prepare that conversation that we have to have. We recognize it's difficult, but that they really help set it up.
What's part of a final arrangement package?
So some of the final...
What would be the things that I would look for, and also the documents that I would need to have in place that would represent those things?
Well, as Gina mentioned, you can go as large or as simple with a funeral cemetery service.
Like what?
So with that, the package would include just the basic decision first. You want to be buried or cremated. That's the starting point. And then based on that, we can decide, do you want to have an elaborate, large remembrance funeral service? Do you want to have a wood casket, metal casket, goes into great details? Or do you want to keep it simple and just maybe have a portrait with a memorial, like a remembrance type of thing? From there, you talk about the ground interment. Do you want to have the urn after cremation placed in one of our niches? Or if you choose traditional burial, do you want to have a single space for you, your spouse, or would you like a family estate for 8 or 10 people that the whole family can have for the future? The purpose of the burial portion is a perpetual memorial to remember you and your family. People are using Ancestry.com and things of that sort are becoming more and more important to people today. So having a memorial at a cemetery not only remembers you and your lifespan, but your generations to come, your children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great, they have a place to go. Say, you know what? This is where Curtis is. This is my great-granddad Curtis, and this is his lineage.
And
right
that
here.
would all be documented, Curtis?
That could be documented. We can add those to files. We have our pre-planning guide that people can come and visit, and they're free of charge for us here. And there are genealogy questions in there to help us help the family in the future along the way. But with the legal portions of it, I know a lot of the paperwork sounds complicated, but I promise anyone, if you take the time just to have that conversation, set up the documents that you need in place, come by, have a discussion about pre-arrangements. It's so much easier to have the conversation, set it, and then forget it, rather than leaving all of those difficult conversations, decisions for family members in the future. And then on top of that, have an advanced healthcare directive in place with healthcare decisions included. It helps you have the peace of mind that the people left making the decisions are the right people left making the decisions. If you are leaving behind maybe like 5 or 6 children that you may have, are they the best people to really think about what they want to do for mom or dad? Were they the ultra responsible people that we wish all of our children would be? Or were they not really in good standing with mom and dad? Those things are alleviated by nominating a person that you feel is best qualified to handle your affairs when that time comes.
I would think, just taking a quick step back, I would think that that's even more important, or at least as important, when it comes to financial final arrangements as well.
Right.
And
Yes,
final
it is.
decisions.
But see that, again, when you're looking at a power of attorney for business management, for money, everybody has to understand that when you die, that your authority, the authority of the agent under a power of attorney for business management, dies with you.
Right, right.
So that is why people have wills. That's why
What
they
is a
have
will?
trusts. A will is a written document stating how you wish to dispose of your property at your death.
Right.
And under the probate code, we have a setup that says before you give anybody anything, you're going to be paying your creditors, your funeral expenses, and we have an order to which they are. Because unfortunately, sometimes individuals' estates maybe are only going to be able to handle the funeral expenses, the fees, and maybe some of the creditors. It may not handle all of the creditors. So that's why we have a statutory scheme. But if there's anything left, you have put in writing how you want to dispose of your property. Now, you don't have to see a lawyer to do a will. As I said, I have probated wills that were written on unicorn stationery. So that was
darling.
a holographic will. And a holographic will is a will that is totally in your handwriting. Doesn't have to be witnessed. You can date it. You can say, this is my last will and testament. You can set forth what you want, and then you're going to sign it, and it's going to be all in your handwriting. Now, is it going to be the easiest thing to probate? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is it's better, as my grandma would say, than a sharp stick in the eye. So what you're doing is you're letting somebody know remember how you were saying that, your example was you wanted to leave one child something, and then you wanted to do something else, and then you said, take all the remainder and leave it to my kids? If you even put that in a holographic will, you are making life so much easier than if you did nothing.
But where do you leave this? Where do you leave that holographic will? Where do you keep it? Where do you leave it? How do you know that that holographic will even be acknowledged and read?
Man, you have to just hope that the people who find it you trust.
Right.
And that they like what you said.
Right.
And what if they don't?
Well,
What if they
then
don't
if
find it?
somebody doesn't know that you did this other than the person who ripped it up, that's a problem.
It is. And that kind of goes back to, you mentioned earlier about trying to have those decisions, but also sharing it. Don't share it with
Yes.
just one person.
Communication
share it with the
is
whole
the key.
family. Let multiple people know and have copies. Maybe keep it in a safe deposit box.
And
or
would
something
that
like
would that apply to what?
Was he the original?
Yep.
To final arrangements too?
It applies for us also, and when you have those plans in place, it makes our job so much easier. We've seen family, because every family has challenges. When a family comes in, a death has occurred, and if they have some sort of challenge along the way, a passing in the family just makes that complicated situation even more complicated. It exaggerates the best and the worst of all situations.
Could somebody come in and do a full final arrangement package, and then have copies circulated to 3, 4, 5 people,
Well,
so that everybody's on the same page?
Copy machines are wonderful devices.
right, that's true. Now, for our final arrangements, specifically on funeral, we have a little bit more security in that. When a person makes final arrangements and prepays everything that they would like on the funeral side, the state of California protects those decisions and that contract by saying that once we are aware that the passing is taking place and the family comes to us, and once we are aware that the deceased has already prepaid all their plans, nothing can be changed on that, regardless if the person has a healthcare directive or anything in that sort. Because once they say, this is what I want and this is what I'm paying, our job changes to protect the rights of the person that's no longer with us now.
But why can't I have Mom moved from the top of the mountain overlooking the valley? Why can't I have her move to that section down there that isn't quite as nice?
Right.
And, just take the rest of the money.
I've actually had that exact problem, and it was unfortunate, where there was a lady who knew that she didn't have a good relationship with her only child, her son. And so when she came in, she says, Curtis, I'm not doing well. I'm going through this process and I want to pay everything. She drew up a really nice funeral that she wanted and spent more than $1,000 in just roses alone, because she did well for herself and she wanted to be remembered well. And so our promise to her at that point is, this is what you like, this is what you've paid for. I'll ensure that it takes place. If one person or if 100 people show up, we'll set it up exactly as we're promising. And sure enough, when she passed, the son found out that she had a policy, came and notified us, so we were locked into that policy. But he says, you know what? She doesn't need that casket. So
No.
let's go ahead and minimize that. And instead of $1,000 of roses, let's just make it $100. And by the way, once you reduce all this, just go ahead and give me the change.
Yeah.
And I fortunately had the privilege to say, you know what? Mom sat here with me and my staff, and we made this promise. And fortunately, we're protected by the state of California that this is exactly what's going to happen if he shows or if he doesn't show, because this is a promise that we have to keep to a person that sat in our office. So it does give you a little bit more security that once you set and pay for your prearranged funeral services, that nobody can change it and downsize it for you.
And would that be true of some of the legal documents we're talking about, Gina, as well? Once those legal documents are executed and everybody is aware of them, can they be changed?
All right, let's talk about something. When you're looking at a 3-page power of attorney for healthcare, do you think it can cover what can be nuances that people can argue
Right.
about?
Probably not.
So you asked me a question about, can it be changed? This document would be used, the 3-page document would be used to define whatever was set forth in the document to show the person's wishes. But any extraneous things? No.
But so the relevance of having all of the documents that we're talking about, all of the final arrangements, all of the other documents, it really is very much guidelines.
Right.
It's really very much somebody's or some group's wishes prior to an event taking place.
Yes.
Right.
Prior to needing it.
And it's basically, we are doing, not we being our company, but you as the person, you're doing your diligence and at least stating, this is what I would like to have. I've taken the diligence and written everything down crystal clear with healthcare, with my trust, with my will, everything regarding my financial and my healthcare. And on top of that, I prearranged all my funeral and cemetery. So when they come to my place, all we do is set dates and times. Nobody has to exchange any kind of currency at that point. But again, that diligence is only observed once you communicate it with someone. Let everybody know I have all this stuff taken care of.
Yes.
Because just as Gina mentioned, if you gave it to one person that may not be the most trustworthy person, those documents, all those plans, they could just disappear. They can come into my place and act as if you have nothing, and we would not know any otherwise. So share it with one person, share it with your entire family, because amongst those, there'll be other people to ensure that your plans are followed and everything takes place as you would like it to be.
Well, and something else that Curtis said is it's paramount. You can make all these plans, you can do all these things. But remember he said once we're notified? All right, if you haven't told people that you have this stuff, then if something happens to you and you're buried someplace else, it's not their responsibility because they were never notified of the fact that you passed.
Right, right.
And I've seen that happen before, where people the kids find in a bunch of documents after the funeral and everything else. Oh my heavens, they had a plot at
Right.
some other place. The only trouble is that you've got to let kids, you have to help people know what you expect is going to happen if something happens to you, and kind of give them some guidelines and provide them with information so that they know you've already prepaid, you've already done some of these things, so that we're not doing it double. When we come back, I want to ask Curtis, how do they handle when somebody passes away and someone is dead?
Right.
How they handle the payment when someone has not prepaid.
Yes.
Let's do that right now. We have just a little bit of time.
Oh, okay.
Well, quickly, just as prepayment helps a person and the family doesn't have to worry about it, we could receive a plan and they could say, mom wanted to have this, and that. And we're like, no problem, because we are a service provider. We try our best to say yes. Now, sometimes people have wishes and dreams that are larger than what we can afford. And, we can do our best to kind of show the closest we can get to it. And maybe we can go into a little bit more detail about that maybe after our break coming up.
And this is Senior Moments. You're listening to Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. We'll be right back. Well, you just heard it. This is Senior Moments on Santa Clarita's hometown station. Guess where? KHTS, AM 1220. Gina, Curtis, let's pick it up where we left off.
Well, I guess what I was asking was when somebody doesn't have a prepaid burial plan and a family comes in to make arrangements for them, then what I want to know is how is payment taken care of?
What would happen is they would have to pay the full amount at the time of need, and that could be a challenge for some families because they feel like they want to get the very best of the very best, horse and carriage, dove release, and a reception for 1,000 people and things of that sort. And with our facility and our services, we can provide that. But when people see what the cost of final arrangements can be, it's kind of heartbreaking not to be able to provide exactly what you want for your family. Now, some of those requests could be really minimal. They may be a person that wanted everything to be super minimal, and that's fine. But then there's some that want to really have a full remembrance, like almost the party scene at their place because they want to be remembered for all the great things. So when they don't have a plan in place, they haven't prearranged, they basically have to pay everything at the time of need, which could be kind of pricey.
Well, Curtis, one of the things that I do with families is I let them know that if something happens to an individual and someone is not on the account, on a particular account, that until they get a death certificate, they're not getting that individual's funds, even if there is a payable on death designation on the account. So one of the things that I talk to clients about doing is maybe opening up a small account, putting the money in they want to allocate towards their burial expenses, and then naming the person they normally trust. They've either named as their agent or they've named as their executor or trustee.
That's
to
smart.
be able to get to that money, because that then would not go through the probate estate. The individual could get to the money and these services could be paid, because otherwise I let them know that it is the children, it is the family that are advancing funds. And in this economy, that can be rough.
It can be, and I think the moral of the story is to have that conversation. Talk about what you want done with your estate. Talk about your end-of-life decisions. Have the difficult conversation once, set it on the shelf, and forget it from there. I think it's a good deal.
Well, Gina McDonald, Curtis Woods, thank you so much for this information. I know that it was helpful to the people in our audience. Don't forget to join us October 8th for the next edition of our show, Issues in Aging, Making Your Own Decisions. For that show, we're going to talk with the doctors of City of Hope. You are listening to Senior Moments on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. You can reach us at the senioresourcealliance.org or call the Santa Clarita Senior Resource Alliance at 296-8266. See you in 2 weeks on October 8th on Senior Moments.